know if you can see us, if you can hear us. It's a Tuesday, and we're here. It's been a bit.
It has been, hasn't it? It's this stream in particular has been sitting there for around about a month and a half, almost, sitting in the back of our minds, and also sitting in the schedule saying, "Get done already." So it's really nice to finally be doing this one. Really nice in particular because I'm genuinely looking forward to this What If. Genuinely, because I don't know where it's going to go or how it's going to land, and it's a subject that I find really quite fascinating. So this should hopefully be a really good one.
Yeah, it's sort of been lurking in the periphery for a hot bit, but that has given a good amount of time to sort of like hum and haw over a lot of different aspects of it, because this is probably one of the most. We've had a lot of like what if suggestions, and this is one of those ones where like the millisecond it was suggested, me and Andy were like, oh, that's a really good one. That's a really good one.
As we do our little bit of a wait, as you all gather, one of the reasons that this one is so good is because it's so close to what the official story is, which is elves come and found the colleges of magic in the Empire to bolster that particular front against the hordes of chaos, because that's where the Everchosen is coming in. And having the seer of the elves, Morathi, be the one that decides to do that is no great leap. Indeed, the tale of Teclis found in the colleges of magic is pretty convoluted. The whole story sort of happens because they decided it happened, rather than all of the steps make a great deal of sense. And we'll be discussing that to a little degree as we go as well, because we're going to have to set up something for this one to work in a way that we don't need to for most of our what ifs. So I'm quite looking forward to just the start of this, let alone seeing where it all lands as we all discuss out how it could become a full living, breathing thing inside the Empire. So yeah, this is a good one. I'm super excited about this one.
Yeah, I agree very much with Andy that this one I think works better than a lot, because it's one of those things that you could say with clarity, like, oh, this happened. Teclis founded the colleges of magic. But the moment someone starts to ask questions about it, you start going, oh, because like it's a very solid, blunt statement, but the moment you start delving beneath it, it starts getting like, well, we don't know that. Oh, we don't know that. We don't know that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going into some of the details about this one, because we'll obviously do a small history lesson at the beginning, just so either those of you who don't know much about what actually happens in the canon world, so you can understand how it works, or alternatively, for those who do know, you can hopefully re-examine it with a slightly different set of eyes, both in terms of why the story was the way it was to begin with and how it became what it became, and also just how does it work within the world in your own imagination, because everybody carries their own Warhammer world within them, which holds all the facts that they're aware of, and it tends to be different in everybody's heads, and that's good. It's why every game of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is unique, because every GM brings their own spin to Warhammer. One of the reasons why we have our Your Hammer or My Hammer, or indeed my game, Lawhammer. It's the individual expressions of it. But this particular story, I think, is going to be a really fun one to talk out. Also, just to make sure that I don't forget this before we go, if you, which of course you are, enjoy watching us, make sure you subscribe, not just here over on YouTube, but also here on Twitch. Now, the reason I said
follow, but yes.
Pardon?
He means follow, but yes, on Twitch.
What did I say?
Subscribe. Well, they mean different things on different sites. You're good. You're
follow,
good. You're
subscribe, whatever. I don't care. Go and click those buttons, if that makes you feel a bit happier, over on Twitch, because we've just started up the new channel, Lorebeards Twitch, over there, because our old channel hit a bureaucratic nightmare. And we decided to just push it aside, go, fuck that channel, and we've started a new one, Lorebeards Twitch. So please go and follow over there. Even if you only watch on YouTube, go follow us anyway, because the more numbers we have, the better. The quicker we can get through to our Twitch channel properly, and hopefully let everybody do their bits and pieces that they love to do there.
Yeah, we would super appreciate it, just because Big stupid Twitch nightmare, which, you know, Twitch being Twitch, just like most places. So if you would consider popping over there and give us a follow. I also did manage to fix it, so we stopped getting an email every time somebody follows. So don't worry, it won't destroy our email account. Yeah, we would really appreciate that, and it will help us get to the point where people can like do bits and all those other things over there, which would be awesome because there's a number of the Lorebeards cast that really want to start doing some Twitch streams to like play through some games and stuff, and so we need to get this in place before I like kick off this mortal coil due to old age, because that's Twitch is doing their best to make that a necessary component.
And on that, for those of you who are worrying about my general mental health and the whole grieving process on my side, I'm much better today. Thank you very much for asking. All of your support and the emails and the messages and everything else that you've been sending have been so welcome and gratefully received. Thank you. And for those of you who are still interested in donating to my mum's funeral stuff, I'll give you the link for that anyway. It's far beyond anything I ever expected it to be. My mum, who is one of the least rich people in the known universe, is so blown away that all she can do is cry. And that makes for some marvelous phone calls, trust me, as we're sitting there blubbing at each other. So, yes, thank you all for your support, both there and, of course, over in Lorebeards too.
Yes. Also, just want to give a quick shout out. Thank you very much, XL1, for gifting 5 Lorebeards memberships. Thank you. 5 green, sweet green names. We love them green names.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, I think we're ready to go ahead and get into super chats and stuff before we hop into our intro, and then we'll hop into our intro and off to the races. Eric asked the Pillager. Excellent name. If the colleges are founded by Druki, will they follow the no male sorcerers rule, or would Malekith let that slide since they're, quote, only humans, unquote?
Right, so this is a great question, and it's one that we can't really answer yet because this is something that we're going to have to decide as we progress. I think, though, that you've almost answered the question with what you said, which is just the general term sorcerers. Sorcerers are a dark elf thing in general, over on the dark elf side, and what constitutes a sorcerer is not what most humans are capable of doing. We're going to be discussing that, though, as we progress, because humans have got both an extraordinarily strong capability with magic and also a surprisingly weak one. So we're going to have to discuss exactly how it will manifest. So the answer to this is we haven't decided yet. But I think the answer is also, I think you're probably right. They are only humans. They are not elves.
Yeah, and one of the things that we will have fun with in the stream, if you've never been with us for a what if stream before, me and Andy do not universally make all the decisions. We'll make a good number of decisions, but whenever we come up to like an interesting fork in the road, we will do community polls. That'll be relatively quick, but these will allow for y'all to help kind of decide where the path goes, which has led us to some places we would not have expected with prior streams. So it should be fun. It should be a good time.
It's one of the things that I enjoy most about this. In fact, without your interactions on our water streams, they just wouldn't be the same. So I am begging and I am pleading right from the outset. If you've got an idea that you think it's cool, super chat or no, throw it in. Obviously, if it's a super chat, we are destined to bring it up regardless. But no matter what particular fork that we're heading towards, if you've got an idea you think's better, please tell us, because that's what makes these streams work.
Drazina Quitshian. I love the face palming. Kislevite. That's excellent. That's an excellent thumbnail. Off topic. How do you reconcile the satirical origin from modern serious and grand? I prefer the grand story, but I get told to keep it nonsensical.
This is something that most writers find exceedingly difficult to tackle. Exceedingly difficult. And finding a writer who is deft at both being able to support that grand, epic Warhammer tone alongside that satirical, or alternatively, often not satirical, but almost nonsensical tone. The much more obscure humor that Warhammer is known for. And how do you reconcile them? By being good at your job. And I know that that's a terrible answer, but that's the answer. There is a big difference between a character called Edam Gauda or Edam Hauda, or however you want to pronounce it, and characters which have cunning, clever references or satirical references to real-world pop culture or anything else. Different characters land differently. Games Workshop writers don't always manage to make it work, particularly the old material. A lot of the newer material does it relatively well, but not all. The real answer is, at this one, it really is be good at your job. That's a horrible answer.
Yeah, the thing that I would try and add as someone that has not written but is only consumed would be to, I think that if you land on looking for a way to include like a fun pun in something, I think you need to, the more relevant it is, like the more at core it is to the story you're trying to tell, probably the more layers of obfuscation that you need to add on top of it to make sure that it doesn't come off as like borderline offensive to people that are enjoying it. Because you want people to be able to read, and if they see something funny, you go, oh, that's a cool reference, or like, oh, haha, I get it. Like the Von Saponathimes, that's well hidden enough that someone kind of has to say it multiple times. Because when you read it, if you don't read it out loud, you're probably not really going to realize that it's once upon a time, because your brain doesn't catch up with like the pronunciation of it. It would be something that as a GM you'd be saying at the table, and one of your party members would go, what wait, who which is good. Or like having references to certain like things that are going on in the world, but making sure to layer it that if someone's just kind of casually reading it, they might not get it right away.
Those
whereas
are generally
like
the better ones in Savitsky.
Whereas if you if you have a character whose name is just a very obvious, super over the top pun, it can be really hard for people to take that character seriously or treat them as anything more than a joke character. And you can have joke characters, like especially if you're writing more of a role play scenario. If you have a guy who's kind of just like an offhand person, then yeah, sure, that dude can have a stupid name. But like your tic-tac-toes, Lord Croaks,
your core characters that are going to get used again and again and again, you have to be much more careful.
Yeah, and I agree with Andy that I think it's a matter of practice. So I'd recommend just practicing it, like trying to include references and jokes, and like giving it to a friend or family to read, or like your roleplay members, and see if they can figure out where it is and how long it takes them. What's their reaction? Is it more of a, oh, okay, I get it, that's stupid, but I get it, or is it a laugh? Like, test it, try it, practice.
And all responses are fine. There's nothing wrong with ones that are a bit stupid, ones that land really well. What matters is the overall tone. I've had characters that have only been found out for their sources like 10 years later in some games. I also want to bring up a couple of just the comments that are coming in just to say yes, yes, and yes. So in this case, was Edam Gauda, Edam cheese and Gouda jet? Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what it was, just Edam Gouda. In UK, it's pronounced Edam Gouda. Both Edam cheese is just Edam, and Gouda is just Gouda rather than Gouda, or Houder, however you pronounce it. And apparently I was pretty close with the Dutch pronunciation. I was really bad at anything close to Dutch, so I'm really glad you said that. Curious Greaser is not nice. I'm ending on that one.
Greaser's terrible. Yeah, don't just change like don't just like swap first letters. Try a little bit. All right, Grim Isaac. What if? How about the what if of Foreign God invaded war? Man, the Foreign God crowd, y'all. I really love this shit, don't you? I'll give y'all props. Y'all come back every stream. I have it highlighted as a stream to look through. It's just a lot to look through. But I will try and get that in at some point, because I know y'all have been working hard on that, and that deserves to be looked at. All right, we've got.
I just got to pop in. I now really want to try and just learn how to say the bloody word, but thank you very much for saying that I said it almost right. I'm just moving on now. Thank you.
CS Dargalore. Also, this was supposed to be the stream on my birthday last month, the 14th. So here's a late birthday gift to you guys, as is Warhammer tradition. Oh,
thank you.
Yes. I always feel bad that y'all seem to be good about enforcing that, and we always completely dodge the brick on that one.
Yep.
It's my birthday. Give me things. Getting gleeful. Can you explain why trolls are considered stupid? They can use tools and seem to have language which is smarter than most animals. So okay. So all right. The first answer to get it out of the way is that they literally have a rule called stupid in tabletop. Yep. They suffer from the stupidity rule, and it's a very punishing tabletop rule. The second to go for is, so giant river troll hags are a bit of a weird exception when we're talking about things like language. Trolls, when you see trolls depicted in most stories and art, trolls cannot talk. Even when they're like, quote unquote, talking to one another, it's like these grunts that have contextual. It'd be like how like some animals can talk to each other by like there are certain kinds of noises they make that communicate certain kinds of like emotional distress or anger or whatever. But trolls are so dumb. I really, they are such stupid creatures that they mostly suffer from that. They have a very short attention span, and they forget where they are and what they're doing literally from seconds to seconds. And it takes something that's extremely violent to really keep their attention. Where if you read a lot of stories, there's a lot of things about how if a troll is fighting a group of adventurers, the troll, if it loses line of sight on the people that are attacking it, it can forget that it was fighting them, and it'll just sort of stand there dumbly drooling as it tries to figure out what it's doing. And then some adventurer like stabs it in the back, and it's like, oh, someone's stabbing me. And it turns around, and then it gets back into it. The tools thing, I don't know if I would agree that, I mean, they throw rocks and they hit people with clubs.
And they got tools. They got tools. In fact, I'm going to go both slightly further and less far than what you have.
Yeah.
So trolls are not animals in the sense that they don't have an animal set of instincts that sit in place. They have an overriding intellect that can contradict core instincts. They are not, thus, like animals. Are they smarter than animals? Well, they use tools, so do some animals. Do they have an intellect that allows them to move from one point to the next and to communicate? Yes, they do. Are they dumb as rocks? The answer here is also yes. Their intellect gets in the way of their instincts, meaning that they will often act in a fashion that is less animalistic than you would expect as they attempt to figure out what the hell's going on and just fail. And they drool and they get confused and they don't know what's happening. And then they return to whatever they're doing. They go back to hunting or scraping up the bottom of the marsh or pulling apart some part of a cave because they're a mountain troll and consuming some rocks or whatever the hell else they happen to be doing. Then something takes their attention. They respond to it rather stupidly. They don't have much in the way of brain. But what they do have gets in the way of them doing things. They're on the cusp of intelligence rather than having intelligence. And that cusp actually gets in the way of them being better creatures. They would probably be better if they had a less enlightened brain and were much more instinctually driven. Think of them as something that has a mind that gets in the way of them doing what they need to do. I, as someone with ADHD, understands this implicitly.
I was trying not to say that the entire
I'm saying it out loud. I understand that, but my brain is not anywhere near as slow or as stupid as theirs. I can't even imagine being as slow and stupid. Many people often have various adages about intelligence and saying that people who aren't that intelligent actually get more shit done because they don't think about it as much. Trolls are sort of like that, but they also think, which is not so good.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that, yeah, I would agree. It's trolls. If you were, stupidity isn't the best way to describe it. It's more that they're so, it's like they're afflicted with
they're dumb as rocks. They're stupid.
Yeah, they're stupid, but it's a very particular form of stupidity.
It is. I mean, it's almost because subject to stupidity is quite clear. They are dumb as rocks, and they get so super confused. And they get confused by too much noise, too little noise. They get confused by things being different. They get confused by everything. They're testing for stupidity all the time. And when they fail, they often just sit there going, "What the fuck's going on? Help!" Even when they're getting hit, because they're that dumb.
Yeah, there's the battle game eventually got rid of this for the sake of ease and model stuff.
In the arse.
Yeah, but in the original depictions of them, they always had troll herders. Like there were always goblins or creatures behind them with like loud cymbals or pointy sticks and stuff that were designed to just keep them moving forward.
Hold them on.
Yeah, which like Beastmasters and that kind of stuff kind of got tossed out as the game developed. But like the idea of like trolls being able to just go into battle, like just realize there's something over there I want to eat. I need to go over there and eat that person. That's hard for them. That's really, really hard for them. Because they're more likely to just stop and stare at the ground and go, "Oh, where am I?
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry."
I'm
and then they just they're struggling.
Boy, you go fight. Pick nose. Yeah, it's the classic example of the big dumb guy, which is not, as we mentioned in another stream, one of the most enlightened of descriptions these days.
Scutari boy, I assume the colleges will be notably more sinister. I mean,
who says they even have colleges in the end? We'll decide as we go.
Yeah. Also, I mean, the modern colleges are pretty fucking sinister, to be fair. James Crowley, first live stream. Watch hundreds of your videos. Thank you. Oh, well, thanks for joining us.
I'm glad you made it. An absolute delight to see you, sir. Hopefully you'll be able to join in as we go.
Cerulean Bloodweaver, what if Slán founded the colleges of magic? They
wouldn't.
Yeah, the brutal truth is they wouldn't.
See, Cerulean, you've actually brought up what I feel is a really good point, which is, why did we choose this one and not other ones? Because this feels almost unrealistic and unlikely. And the reason is because this one really fits Morathi's story. It's really close to the original one, which is elves, and it's also not ridiculous. If we said, why doesn't Mazdamundai do it? Because he wouldn't. We'd have to build a ridiculous story to somehow make sense of it, and he'd have to act deeply out of character. Whereas Morathi uses humans all the time. All the time. We'll discuss that though when we get into it.
Getting gleeful. So Mathla is considered one of the LNI, so as a god of destruction, but seems just seems to be a god of all aspects of the sea, destruction. Otherwise, if anything, Stromfell seems more like a destructive sea god. Okay, so
we're sort of mixing our pantheons here.
Yeah, so Stromfells, you have to keep in mind, is not a god that is recognized by the elves. That is not a deity of their pantheon. If anything, they would probably argue for most humans that Stromfells is either just like a powerful spirit or it's simply an aspect of Mathlan that they're confusing to be a different god. Humans believe that Manan and Stromfells are two gods of the sea that have opposing ideologies. But they're both destructive, but in different ways. Manan is more fair. It's like saying it's like saying the gun that shoots you is more fair than the bazooka that shoots you.
I'd say Manan's more of a force of nature, and Stromfells is aggressively at you. Where Mathlan as a force of nature is extremely destructive, but also has nice days.
Yeah, Stromfells only exists as a predatory force.
Yeah,
he's literally a predator god. He just uses, because remember, he works through people, weather, and creatures, because he's the god of sharks, reavers, and wreckers, and certain kinds of storms. So like
maelstroms.
Yeah, Stromfells is less a god of the sea and more of a god of, if you happen to step off land, he is trying to kill you at all times through anything. Manan doesn't give a fuck about people. Yeah. He's just the sea doing what the sea does.
Yeah. That's perfect, I think.
Yeah. Mathlan does not, like, as far as the elves are concerned, Stromfells is a non-entity. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And on the elf side, Mathlan is everything that both of those gods are.
Yeah.
As it, yeah, he's both Manan and Stromfels. He's all of the above.
Yep. Scramble Ramble. Considering that the Seraphon are so similar to Fantasy Lizardmen, do you think there's a risk Lizardmen are coming to the old world for the risk of mixing IPs? Yeah, that's a realistic risk, and they haven't. That's why they haven't so far. Now, we have seen that as Age of Sigmar ranges get their own like complete fresh line of minis, that they're starting to backport the old ranges to fantasy, which then results in people like me being like, haha, fuck that, I'm still going to use my AOS minis. And who cares? So, and
it inflates AOS sales, so they think, hey, we're more popular than we might necessarily be.
Yeah, it's a whole mess. But
it really is.
Yeah,
it's just miniatures, dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry that much about it. And because there's nothing we really can actively do unless like GW sends out a survey, which I can't even remember the last time they sent out a survey. They used to a while ago, but they haven't in like a good 5 or 6 years. But so yes, that is a current issue, but I suspect it will be less of an issue as time carries on. Darius Rose, honestly, after the Crockgar string, I desperately want a novel that fills in his terrifying encounters with other cultures, but from their perspective, almost like he is the 2003 cartoon General Grievous. That would be cool. That would be a very cool idea for like an anthology series. You know what that would be really good for is if GW does this occasionally, where they like to release a bunch of anthology stories in their White Dwarfs, and it'll take like it'll be like 6 or 7 issues. And then after it's over, they'll collect all of them and then add like one slightly larger story, and they release it as a Black Library book. That's what they did for like Grombrindal's Chronicles of the Wanderer. They've done that with a couple of other books. This would be a really cool idea for that. I don't see them ever doing it, but that would be a very cool idea for it. Super Unlock. I assume the first spell Morathi is going to teach is a spell that makes your balls explode, but not say what it does to naturally weed out males. I don't. That seems very. That seems like a long way to go for a very simple edict, but we'll get to that vote in a little bit. Gideon Gleeful. So from your description, trolls seem like animals that could be reasonably smart, but all are half brain dead. Yeah, well, look at Throg. Throg is a troll whose brain has been fixed by mutation, and he is genuinely very, very intelligent.
Yeah.
Darius Rose, crocodiles have their own hierarchies, working together to lay traps, and even have their own form of plain communication. So I think Crocsgores could be somewhat intelligent. Well, remember, Crocsgores,
they are.
Yeah, they are. They don't have the stupidity rule. They're actually they just have a very selective form of intelligence.
Yeah, it's not a human intelligence, which makes it more difficult for the classic sentient species of the old world to understand.
Yeah, it's the common thing of like, well, I can't have a philosophical discussion with a squirrel, therefore the squirrel is fucking stupid. Where it's like, okay, well, maybe
they are.
Yeah, they are stupid, but maybe let's judge them on fair qualifications rather than that. Gnivel, I like Andy's each college has a dark mirror talks. Yes, I do too. They're very good. All right, last one before we get into it. Skylar Martin, off-topic question. Is there a book that has a Lisbon point of view? Yes. Or otherwise heavily features them? Yes. Also, as a very gay trans femme, I see no issue with Morathi running the colleges of magic. Trust me, bro. So what I'll say, that's very funny. What I'll say is, so the 2 books that were published during Warhammer Fantasy that have Lizardman perspectives is there's the really terrible, awful book called Burning Shores.
How could you say that's awful?
Yeah, it is a terrible book. It's fun, but like, and to be fair, it did give us the solar system.
It gave me details that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So I'm quite happy that book exists sometimes.
Yeah, it's a core book to the Warhammer
astrologers.
Yeah, but the Lizardmen in that book were written horribly, and you do get their perspectives, and it's not good or flattering. The book that was actually very, very good and written amazingly from a Lizardman perspective is the Temple of the Serpent, which is the second book from the Thanquol trilogy.
Thanquol.
It has a good amount of it actually has a number of chapters from a Slaan's perspective, and it is written brilliantly. Like, it is written so good. One of those. So I would recommend checking that one out. All right, and from that, it's time to discuss what if Morathi founded the Colleges of Magic.
Okay, are we ready? Oh
Yes.
man, I'm looking forward to this. Right, so this is a bit different to our previous What If streams. And I'm not just saying that as a hyperbolic statement. I am saying this because this What If is completely unlike any of our previous What Ifs. Which immediately begs the question, why? What makes it so different? Well, normally when we do a What If, something like this occurs. What if an Aryan lived? Here's a classic one. So we don't need to think about an Aryan's motivations beyond the motivations he already had and what comes next. All of the what ifs, in fact, we've had so far have all been about an event that went slightly differently, and thus we start a new story because what if it went differently? This one, though, is different because we're asking, what if Morathi founded the Colleges of Magic in the Empire? Which means we have to actually ask a different question first, which is, why is Morathi founding the Colleges of Magic in the Empire? In fact, we have to ask more than one question. Why hasn't the Colleges of Magic been founded by Teclis and the High Elves? Indeed, there's so many other questions we need to answer before we get to what happens now it's occurred. So unlike our other what ifs, the first thing that we're going to have to establish is how it happened. And once we've done that, we can then progress on with the core story of, now that it has occurred, what happens next? Now, for those of you that don't know, a little bit of history is a little bit useful here. The Colleges of Magic were founded 200 years before the end of the world go boom, the end times. And in that era, the great gates of chaos had waxed open, and Azavar Kul, the Ever-Chosen, was striking down from the north into and towards Kislev. The Dark Elves, over on the other side of the world, made an alliance with Chaos so that they could also simultaneously invade Ulthuan and keep Chaos away from the Dark Elves in the north. So they basically made a deal, and Morathi was a core component of this as she organized all the main alliances with the human tribes. And their goal was to dive down into Ulthuan and either take it or take down the Vortex, because the Vortex is what stymies them all from having the true awesome power that they all believe that they should have, because it sucks magic out of the world. So that was their goal. Over in the Empire, they saw this great coming of chaos, and a chap by the name of Magnus, who later on becomes Emperor Magnus the Pious, decides that he's going to try and bind all of the disparate components of the Empire together into one force. Indeed, he's so terrified of the great chaos to come that he sends off an ambassador to the elves to ask for help. And this ambassador, Peter Laszlo, goes by ship all the way over, has a chat with the elves, and they basically say, "Okay, thanks, bye, fuck off." Okay, fair enough. You are an old ally. Fair enough. They're not old allies at all, but the elves are always into making diplomatic overtures. Fair enough. What we'll do is, out of the thousands upon thousands of wizards we'll give you 3. That's what you can have. 3 wizards. That's it. Nothing else. And with those 3 wizards, they founded the Colleges of Magic and kicked Chaos's ass. Now, that's a bit of a hyperbolic way of viewing it, but loosely speaking, 3 wizards came over, 3 lore masters from the Towers of Hoth, and not their most important lore masters by any stretch. Teclis at this point is a kid. He is not an important lore master in the greater scheme of things. And he comes on over with Ertala and Finrier, and they effectively gather all of the human wizards in the Empire, train them, and create the 8 Colleges of Magic that become to dominate old world magic from that point onwards. It was a deeply controversial thing to do. But the elves, when they arrived, said, so what are you going to do when all of those chaos sorcerers do their chaos sorcerer thing? To which they went, hey, we got priests. Yeah, they'll sort it.
I'll pray the spell away.
And they were like, yeah, no, that's bullshit. You need wizards. And they persuaded the humans to go for the wizard option, which was so controversial, the cult of Sigmar tried to stop it multiple times. And what stopped that was apparently Sigmar himself stepping in through his greatest agents to say, yeah, you know what, actually, maybe this is important. But stories contradict this. The real thing that made it happen, and we have it written in multiple places, is Magnus the Pious himself claimed to speak on behalf of Sigmar, and, well, basically everyone fell in behind him, which is why he became Magnus the Pious. Indeed, he claimed to speak to every god, because that was Magnus's way. He passed through the Flame of Ulrich. He went to Marienburg, and the great Triton, this ties in earlier to one of our questions, one of the biggest spirits of Mathlan, Manan, arrives and goes, yeah, that Magnus guy, he's pretty cool. When they arrived over in Talapipe, an enormous white heart of Tal comes out of the forest and goes, yeah, Magnus, you kick ass. Now, the fact that he had a bunch of elves with him who could control all of these creatures is by the by.
Heresy!
Okay, by the by, what's most important for you to understand is that Magnus got his way, and he bound the Empire together underneath his banner, went over to Kislev, and then kicked Azavar Kul's butt, with a whole bunch of human wizards behind him, all of whom have been very badly trained over a year or two. And then the Colleges of Magic were founded afterwards because Teclis went, you need these guys, to which the cults of Sigmar said, no, we don't, and then banned it 20 years later. And then banned it again not long after that. And multiple times tried to ban it because Sigmarites hate witches and would rather they were wrapped in chains and burnt. That is a very one-sided way of looking at different views of how Magnus and Teclis founded the Colleges of Magic. This time, though, we have to take a different view. We have to figure out the following. Number one, what stops the elves, as in the high elves, from doing it? This is the easiest question in the world to answer because they only joined in for a single reason. They were dealing with their own war over in Ulthuan. They didn't want to send anyone, and the only reason they did was because of the diplomatic might of Peter Laszlo. But if he doesn't arrive because a certain Morathi, who is a seer, says, then already the Colleges of Magic never happen. But Morathi, being a seer, would have realized that if the elves did do that, the Empire stands and chaos is defeated. Because this is one thing we have to say for certain. For all, it's very easy to say, oh, Morathi, she's just like a tainted follower of chaos and stuff, isn't she? No, she's not. She's a dark elf that uses chaos. It's a very different setup. Go check our Morathi streams if you want to see more on how Morathi sort of is and eventually becomes, so we know definitely is. She is arguably the greatest elven seer, and she has one job on mind, and that is the destruction of chaos and stopping them from doing what they want to do and eventually becoming a god herself. She has the same goal as her husband, Anarion. She saw what chaos was going to do long before the cataclysm came, and no one believed her, Cassandra style. And she fought from that point onwards to bring about the end of chaos. And her route for doing so is dark as fuck. She is not a good guy in terms of classic human morality. She's as far away from a good guy as you can get. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't have shared goals. And one other thing that people often forget about Dark Elves, which I think is a core component of what needs to be remembered as we do this stream, is that the Dark Elves are the best diplomats that the world has. The best. Now, you might go, shut the fuck up, Andy. No, they're not. Dark Elves are shit diplomats. Their idea of diplomacy is stabbing you in the back. That is true. But that's just one aspect of their diplomacy. I suggest you go to the 8th edition Dark Elf Army list and read it. They gotta
be close enough to shank you in the back.
Yeah, totally. Read it. And read Dark Elf Society, where it makes it exceedingly clear the most charismatic, the most capable, the most diplomatic, the most ambassadorial of the elves are the Dark Elves, because they have to be, because they eat the living shit out of each other. They despise each other with a passion, yet still continue to work with each other again and again because they're constantly persuading each other to the best course of action. They're constantly working diplomacy at each other. And their diplomacy is often exceedingly bleak and dark. That doesn't mean that they always are good guys in diplomacy. No, they're going to be pouring iron writs down throats and melting you golden hairstyle like Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones. Oh yeah, they're mean bastards, but they are mean when they are making a point because they want to use others. One other thing that I think as part of the opening discussion that we need to make sure we have very, very clear in our minds, and that's that humans are not elves. Humans suck. Humans are slaves. From the Dark Elf perspective, humans are tools to be used. But we're dealing with Morathi here, not all of the Dark Elves. And Morathi has a very different view of humans than most Dark Elves, because Morathi repeatedly allies with them and uses them. It's a core component of how she keeps Gron strong up in the north. She's up there allying and working with many of the tribes. And indeed, in multiple campaigns and multiple stories, she pretty much embeds herself with them and uses them as a core component of Slaaneshi warbands to go around and do whatever the fuck that she wants. She uses humans. She thinks humans are tools to be used in the same way she thinks elves are tools to be used. In the same way she thinks ogres, halflings, greenskins, anything is a tool to be used. And the reason I bring that up is because we're going to have to build, before we make our decisions as to what if Morathi founds the colleges, why is she doing it? Now, it's really close to her modus operandi. Would she use humans? Yes. Would she abuse them? Yes. Would she look like she's fitting into the society? Yes. What is her core way of manipulating people? Religion. She founded pretty much all of the elven religions. All of them. She's at the core of using religion to do others. And we know one thing for certain about the Empire is that it is controlled by religion. This is her playground. Teclis, when he came over, I give you a famous quote from Teclis, in fact, which is...
Bungled that.
Teclis hates religion. He thinks religion gets in the way of everything that the Empire folk are thinking. He thinks it blinds them to good sense. And it does. That's why Morathi loves it. Because she can use it. She understands etheric entities and gods in a way that no human ever can. She spends a good amount of her time in the aether, scrying all the different ways that the aether might come out. It's in more than one story of Morathi. She understands how to scry the future and see the best potentials for what could come. So why does Morathi found the colleges of magic? Our first question. She is well with her capabilities to do it. The last thing I'm going to say is my introductory points to make sure we have them very clearly embedded in our minds is in the Empire, at this point, the cult of Sigmar is not dominant. The cult of Sigmar is dominant in a part of the Empire, which is what's often referred to as the electoral counts or something similar. The Reichland, Nuln, Marienburg sort of area. Cult of Sigmar is strong there. But in the north, you have a completely different set of emperors, the Wolf Emperors. Cult of Ulrich is strong there. East, you've got the Ottilian Emperors. Cult of Tal is strong there. And the last thing I'm going to say about the potential uses of religion that she may deploy is that the cult of Sigmar would love to see witches persecuted. And who loves to persecute more than the Dark Elves? Any colleges that she might found might be very different to what we have today. There are lots of different ways that they could manifest, and I'm going to give two. It's really one as a first suggestion, and this isn't to say I think it should be this. This is just to say that's the first thing that popped into mind. Think about that. Now you think about different things that could come up or ways that this could be adapted into something new and interesting. If you've seen the Wheel of Time, they've got the civilization in there called the Sonshan, and the Sonshan believe that their witches, their channelers, are the freaking worst. So they bind them in chains. They wrap them with a collar that means that they can't use their powers, and the only way they can use their powers if basically a slave master tells them to do so. That's it. They're made slaves because they're witches, and those witches are controlled. that would be a very Sigmarite method of resolving it. They would almost certainly be happier with that than the current colleges of magic. That's something to consider. And this is something that other settings have run with too. Think of Dark Ages. Dark Ages? Think of Dragon Age, pardon me. If you go over to Dragon Age, they've got their big ogre-like creatures with their big horns. And similarly, the entirety of the Qun, their big religious group that they've got over there, they say again that witches and magic users are the worst. So they enslave them, they bind them in masks, and they don't let them do magic outside of very certain circumstances. Now, in some respects, the Colleges of Magic does the same with the Articles of Magic. You're only allowed to do magic in certain circumstances, but the Colleges of Magic create more dark, nasty wizards than probably the Empire would have had without them. There are so many Black Magisters in the Empire, so many wizards that have been given control and go dark. So you could argue that a Morathi-led Colleges of Magic that chose to control rather than let free and educate a group of wizards might be a more effective tool. And you might go, Andy, bullshit. But take a look at what they do in Kislev. They just kill the men. Kill them. Kill them outright. Take a look at what they do in Bretonnia. They spirit the men away because they can't be trusted with magic as it currently stands. There is already, in most of the old world, people who go wizards have to be abused or killed rather than used. And Morathi's view is more palatable to some if she took the enslaved them route. Now, I'm not saying that's what we should do. I'm saying let's immediately not think, we will have 8 colleges of magic and a dark college. That's how it's going to work. No, don't think like that. Think, what would Morathi make and what would the Empire take? What is her extraordinary personality? Which is, she can convince almost anyone of anything, but it has to stick. What would she create that would stick? And then what is the influence of what's going to come afterwards? But before we get on to all that, our first question is almost certainly going to be, why is she doing it? Because that is a sticky point. There's lots of obvious answers. She's a seer, chaos, all the rest. But why do you think she wants to found and control magic use in the Empire?
Yeah, so let's try and get this down to 4 ideas that we can do a vote on. 4 at the max. We can do less than 4. So this is the point where we're really going to be looking out to y'all, the chat, for any ideas about, and of course, me and Andy will suggest our own. But we're really we're really wanting to see some ideas from y'all, if possible, of what would be a reason you could suggest for why Morathi would step in to essentially aid the Empire. Why does she show up to? Because what she's going to be doing, you have to keep in mind, is that she's functionally going to be taking Teclis's place of that. The Empire needs magical help to defeat chaos, and Morathi is going to provide it. Why? So we are looking for some ideas here. All right, so let's see. So we have kind of the okay. We do have a lot of so we kind of have like the classic Athel Lord thing of humanity as a shield against chaos. So
there's a few things that we can say for clear, and that is that humanity will end the world. We know that, which means that Morathi knows it. Morathi knows that humanity is going to end the world. I'll take it a step further. Morathi knows that Sigmar will be responsible for the end of the world because it's a Sigmarite who goes bad and ends the world. Okay, that's what Archaon is. Archaon is a Sigmarite who goes bad. Now, Morathi knows this. So wanting to control that source doesn't seem to be a bad idea, in the same way that Malekith wanting to control male sorcerers, Malarian, is, from his perspective, not a bad idea, because it ensures that certain prophecies are going to be more difficult to come about. So controlling the cult of Sigmar, or even rather working to try and destroy it, is not a bad idea. Effectively, try to stop the end of the world coming or delay it by preventing an Archaon from rising. That doesn't necessarily mean stop Archaon. individually, but it does mean possibly that you try and hold off the potential of a character who will be equivalent to Archeon for at least another 2, 3, 4 cycles of the gates waxing and waning and waxing and waning, and you ever chosen coming down from the north. So she does know that this is the case, and that gives you at least a starting point for why target the Empire.
Okay, so we have option 1, which I like, which is controlling the prophecy of Archeon.
Okay, that seems not a bad idea.
That's a good part 1. Let's see. We could. Okay, I'm seeing some ideas.
I just want to bring this up because it made me laugh. It allows her to better interact with the vampires and conduct dark deeds. The dark elves love their frickin' dark deeds in Total War.
They do.
Also,
they do.
But Dark Deeds is a great game. You should buy a copy. If you haven't, go find it and buy one. Also, can discuss dark magic or whatever. Sure.
Yeah. They want better friends to play board games with. They're just trying to outreach into their local communities. So I do some ideas that I'm seeing that I'm liking is by the time Teclis would have gone over to the Empire, Malekith had already been defeated at the Battle of Thinneval Plain. So we could have the idea that Morathi is looking to the Empire as a potential future tool in her schemes versus Ulthuan. I'm trying to think of how to word that 35 characters or less.
Okay, so let's try to build 2 very different stories with each one. So the first one is, I wish to take control of the prophecy of the end times, effectively. She's attempting to control that narrative. And in doing so, if we choose that story, the Dark Elves don't attack Ulthuan. Okay, because they take a different route, which means the entirety of that war will be different. Completely. Top to toe. Everything will be different in the lead up. The High Elves will not be getting invaded. The second one is, after the loss of Malarian, her son, she intercedes and cuts in on the High Elves.
Peter Laszlo.
So the Peter Laszlo one. So this one is a different story. The Great War over in Ulthuan does occur, and Morathi takes a different route afterwards.
And I will say there's a strength to that potential storyline of it takes Morathi a while to figure out that Malarian is not dead. She has to do like a bunch of rituals, a bunch of other stuff. So this could be that there is a very different path of her, perhaps how she handles the perceived death of her son. By looking to wield the Empire as a tool or using them to hold chaos off long enough that she can enact her own schemes to pivot to figure out what she's going to do in light of Malarian's disappearance.
Yeah, and we also have another relatively strong pillar if we choose that one, and that's the failure of her allies in the north. They had failed to succeed in their invasion of Ulthuan, and thus, as a tool, were much less effective, so she can look elsewhere. So that gives a relatively strong one there. So we're wanting at least another 1, if not 2 more things. So we've got one which is, our Great War is going to be different, and she intercedes early and does not support any attack into Ulthuan, and the reclamation of Ulthuan instead moves over to the Empire and secures that instead. Or alternatively, the moving over to the Empire and securing it is in response to what happens in Ulthuan.
Amadeus, I don't know if you watch Lawhammer, but if you do, that's funny. If you don't, it's even funnier.
Go figure.
We got 2 more options.
I'm just glad that she looks elsewhere.
Let's see here.
Okay, there's an interesting one. Malekith kills Teclis. Okay, so we've got a different what if here. So the what if Malekith kills Teclis, and thus, because of the lack of support that they have over in the Empire falls, as Azovakul then destroys the world and becomes effectively the great destructor that Archeon will come in the next cycle. So it comes early, and she sees that and she decides to intervene. There's something in that, I think. The idea that we have a slightly different setup. So instead of it's the same setup and she makes a different decision, it's a different setup in that war, and she makes a different decision. And that could work. I mean, if Malarian kills Teclis, still loses the overall battle, but kills Teclis, then yes, Azavar Kul will take the Empire. And indeed, arguably, could then, through Middenheim, destroy the world.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, I see an option here that we might be able to reword a little bit or workshop of the idea that Morathi is drawn to Bellacor's prison in Mordheim because he's still there. Go check if Felix hasn't happened yet.
To what end?
Yeah, but
I mean,
what end would be the question?
Yeah, you need a really strong story to make that a worthwhile thing. I mean, what's she going to gain from this? He is a relatively stymied, greater demon prince, whatever you wish to categorize it, demigod, who no longer has anything other than crowning Archeon powers. Well, Archeon, pardon me, ever-chosen powers, and little much beyond that as well. He's not that much. It's only when he's freed that he becomes anything that's even close to a threat, and he's currently caught up and wrapped up in chains. It's as motivations go, it's currently weak. We need a story there.
What if Morathi were to accelerate her own plans to godhood? So she wants something from the Empire that can be found there. Maybe the Crown of Nagash. Maybe she wants Middenheim. Middenheim is interesting.
Okay, so Middenheim is an interesting one because Middenheim, as ridiculous as this is to say, it is key to the world's survival.
Yeah, it is.
It just is, and it's stupid in so many ways, but it is. So Middenheim and securing and controlling Middenheim could easily be a core motivation. That wouldn't necessarily involve forming the Colleges of Magic as we understand it, but it definitely could start forming some equivalent in Middenheim, because Middenheim already has its own guild of magic at this time, and wizards are entirely legal inside the Northern Wolf Emperor section of the Empire. 100% legal. They're illegal in the Sigmarite portion, completely legal up where the arguably focus of Morathi would be. We might end up with our equivalent of the Colleges of Magic being founded in Middenheim, not Altdorf. Altdorf, however, makes a very good center because it's where a confluence of magic is. So Altdorf does make the natural place for it to go, but hey, Teclis bent things a little bit to make that work. So yeah, there's something in this, I think.
Yeah, I think that could work as an option that we can then workshop from. So if we get a final option.
So option one is what? Just as a quick sentence.
So option one is controlling the prophecy of Archeon, which is pretty easy to work with.
Okay,
option two is...
So let's add to it so we make sure people have got very clear different options there. So that's control... because we also want to add to that one the aspect of not invade Ulthuan.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Okay, so we've got a different foundation to that whole war. So don't invade Ulthuan, control Archeon, basically. The next one is because of Ulthuan.
She intercepts Peter Laszlo. And steps into that role.
Yeah. So that's the second option. The third option would then be we're going down the more prophesizing route and looking for the end of the world. We need I'd really like a third grounding point that isn't one of the other twos as well.
Yeah, I think
I need to take Middenheim.
Yeah, I think a third interesting grounding point would be that if this is one of the potential end times, and she knows that Middenheim is key, Middenheim is like a key point. We don't actually. One of the interesting things that we've discussed if you go watch our Morathi streams is Morathi is like hilariously absent during the Great War. Like she's nowhere to be found in Ulthuan. To the point where the Dark Elf book goes on this whole song and dance number about how she's like hiding, or she's like watching from a great distance away and influences the duel between Tyrion and Urian Poisonblade. So,
but he looks like an Aryan.
Yeah, but he looks like my dead husband. So what if that this explores the idea of what she's doing is securing that if the dominoes fall in a bad way, she's going to where the things are going to take place.
Okay, no, let's combine the two then. And say, yeah, she's watching from afar. Okay, and what's the difference with this one? Malarian and Teclis kill each other. Or at least so it appears from her perspective. And that completely changed everything. Let's kill Tyrion too.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, like,
okay,
because she's not in Gron, she's in Middenheim.
Oh no, she doesn't even need to be in Middenheim for this. She's doing the ooh thing, and the whole thing falls apart, and she then decides to take direct control. All of her ties to the elf kingdoms are largely gone. They will move against her, because at this point they will move against her. The line of Anarion is fucked. Her son is gone. She's in trouble, and she chooses to effectively protect herself while simultaneously going for what she always goes for, which is her anti-chaos, apotheosis, I will become a god route. And Middenheim is the root of that. So the we go to Middenheim choice is that everyone back in her family and its various trees and bloodlines are dead.
Yeah, the line of Anarion is ended.
Yeah.
So I'll just put Morathi abandons the elves because there's a lot we could do with that.
Yeah. That sounds good to me.
Okay, and then for I think that's 3 good options. I don't know if we really need a 4th.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with those two. So to sum, just before they go up, option number 1 is that Morathi makes the decision to lead the Dark Elves in a different direction to Ulthuan, and instead views the Empire and its impending wars with Azavar Kul as the route through. Now, this is going to change everything, because it's going to mean that the Dark Elves are the focus of the attack from Chaos over on one flank, and over on the other side, it will be coming in through Kislev, where in the previous version, the Chaos Dark Elf army allies and goes in through Ulthuan to protect Nagaroth. We have a different grounding point. This is one where the basically Dark Elves and the Empire are on the same overall side. So thus, everything is different. All the politics are different. All of it is just different. You're choosing a different story. The what if is that. The next one is the what if everything falls out as it does. She sees her son die, and she sees the importance of effectively the Empire in the next coming up part, because she's a seer, and she intercedes and takes control of that entire narrative. The Peter Laszlo option, Peter Laszlo goes to the High Elves, never occurs, because she intercedes and then moves into the place, perhaps even posing as a High Elf. Who knows exactly how that arguably lands. There's lots of different stories you could choose with that one when she arrives, gloriously arrives, because she is who she is after all, to do whatever she decides to do. Effectively, she replaces Teclis in that storyline. It's a very different way of doing it. It's a replacement of Teclis going to Magnus, rather than I'm coming in and going to the Empire, where it could land almost anywhere. It's not necessarily Magnus who will rise from this as the most important character. And the last one is everything's gone to shit for her. Everything's gone wrong. All of the line of Anarion are dead. Possibly even the Everqueen is dead. And they've lost the war for... They've completely lost the war for Ulthuan. The Dark Elves are on the retreat. The High Elves are fucked. And she, through her seerdom, can see that the world is going to end unless the Empire is somehow bolstered. And she has nowhere else to run, so she runs and leaves behind the elves. This is the story where it's going to be Morathi and the Empire, not Dark Elves with Morathi there and the Empire. This is a unique individual story. Just Morathi coming over. None of the rest of her potential allies will be involved, which makes each one of these 3 super different to each other. One is a different war. The second one is a large group of potential Dark Elves that are providing support. And the last one is just Morathi by herself in a completely different world, where Ulthuan and Nagaroth and the lot will be going into a civil war on both sides that probably lasts until the end of the world. They are fucked. because they've lost so much. And Morathi's fleeing that to come over to a new place. How does that sound for 3 options?
That sounds excellent to me. By the way, if you're having problems with YouTube chat, make sure you try and refresh your page. But I think YouTube's having like some slight weird issues. But polls are up. As a reminder, we cannot yet do polls on Twitch because we're not an affiliate yet. And for some reason, that's a feature locked to affiliates. For some reason.
So if you want us to be doing those, get over onto Twitch and help us out and just subscribe, even if you don't use it. Or sorry, follow, or whatever it is you say on Twitch.
There you go. There you go.
What do you say on Twitch? Is it follow?
It's follow. Yeah. Follow is free.
Matter?
Yeah, follow is free.
And of course,
Costs
subscribe costs money. Of course. Yeah. No, I get it now. Yeah.
Those are 3 very, very interesting choices. I do think there's a lot there, but we're gonna grab some super chats while we're waiting. That way, we're being productive with our time here. Getting gleeful. Okay, so I know the idea of are gods the same or different is controversial. Does this work as a hypothesis? It's both. So it's more like 2 or more overlapping balls of etheric energy that are separate but not.
That's the official story that's taken inside the Old Realms of Chaos book.
Yeah, and I would also note
what it says.
Yeah, and I would also note that it's going to be up to you because GW is going to change their answers depending on who's writing
every other week.
Yeah, so it's your choice. So could that work? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Casper, is there a chance we could ever get a stream on how the different how war gods are different, like how Sigmar, Ulrich, and Myrmidia are different, and how are they the same?
I mean, that's a very easy one. I was the one who was responsible for writing all the Sigmar, Ulrich, and Myrmidia material back in 2nd edition. So I had to do all of this. I had to make the very clear distinctions. And I've spoken to not just the people who wrote supplementary material for it later and before, but I've also spoken to the original creator of Sigmar, Ulrich, and Myrmidia. So a relatively easy one, yes.
Yeah. In fact, it's so easy. Andy's going to give you a quick, very short answer about how they're each unique.
Oh, okay. Sigmar's defensive, Ulrich's offensive, and Myrmidia's tactical.
There you go. Petrus Hypatus, loving Morathi streams. I've loved Warhammer since 1992 with breaks, and now your passion has reignited mine in turn. Thank you, and long live the Lorebeards. Thank you. That's very sweet. Ryan Von Egger, Teclis's alarm went off too late, obviously. Oh shit, he overslept the boat. They went to the Empire without him.
And for those of you who are following the vote at the moment, about half of you voted, and we're sitting with Morathi abandoning the elves just slightly ahead, but it is only slightly. Second is the Prophecy of Archeon. Okay, I'm trying to interrupt that. They're really close. So if you're a Prophecy fan, go vote for that. If you're an Abandons the Elves fan, go vote for that because they're super close.
Biofoot, Morathi is not going to enforce the one wind only policy. We'll have to see. Probably
that's
not.
An interesting thing, isn't it?
Probably not. Super Amaton, I think a core tenet of Morathi's philosophy is that conflict keeps civilization strong. Therefore, several ways that compete might be a solution.
See, that's a really interesting line there, Super Amaton. And also may speak to how she approaches the Empire. So if you go for controlling the prophecy or abandons the elves in particular, those two, then it's quite likely she might not prefer the Empire to band together underneath a single emperor. She might prefer it to stay in its triumvirate position with the electoral emperors, the wolf emperors.
Yes, so they keep their knives sharp.
So they keep their knives sharpened and working against each other and with each other as and when required. Because you're correct. She does believe that conflict brings strength. And she's happy for thousands, millions to die to bring about a greater strength well, that's a bit grim actually, but yeah. Yeah, do that.
Gnival, I know this is basic, but I like the idea of Morathi doing 8 colleges of magic, but DAR versions of each of the colleges instead of their classic renditions.
I can see an aspect where that might be the case, but you've got to also remember that a lot of these options bring corruption, and she's going to be fully aware of the corruptive powers of DAR, and that on a human soul often brings mutation fast. They often die or corrupt or bring about demons and endanger everything she might be setting up. more quickly than it would be the case if elves were doing it. Humans are deeply fallible in a way that elves aren't, and they fall to chaos very, very quickly. And again, a way that elves don't, meaning that whilst it is actually the obvious idea, it might be the one that she goes, I have no interest in this because it will just fail. And that's not what she wants to do. But you're also correct in that she might want to very bluntly use chaos against chaos. Here comes the Chaos Army. Yeah, but on my side, I have 100,000 bloodletters that we've summoned and we're controlling. So fuck you. It's a very different type of war that could then be brought about. So I both agree with you, but also I think it's worth putting the counter argument that option is extremely dangerous and almost certainly will fail.
All right, I'm going to call time.
Hey, we've got a winner.
And we've got Morathi abandons the elves. Ooh,
Love
spicy.
Spicy. Okay, so this one's cool. I liked all of these three for different reasons, so I think I would have been happy with any of them. Sometimes I'm like, I've got a favorite, but this one's cool. This one's cool because it takes the story that we know already, because if you know the Great War Against Chaos, and you know the Battle of Finuval Plain, and you know what happens with the Dark Elves invading into Ulthuan, and the supposed chaos support they have, which is often not much more than Nakari, depending upon which version of the background you go with.
And like a side contingent of random Chaos Warriors, but yeah,
they just happen to be there. It's not particularly well written.
Given in the road to Elmittentime.
So what we have here is most of those battles land in exactly the same way, excepting the following occurs. Number one, the scouring of Avalorn is successful and the Everqueen is killed. In the great battle on Finuval Plain, both Malarian and Teclis fall. As Tyrion falls into deep, deep depression at the death of the Everqueen and goes freaking mental and almost certainly goes for the Sword of Cain, his own people cut him down. And we have a completely different world already. Across Ulthuan, what remains of the line of Anarion is hunted down by Nakari, who has been freed because the Witch King is no longer there to control it. And the lore masters are completely stymied. Ulthuan falls into a state of war. It's at war with itself come the arrival of chaos. It's a mixture of dark elves fighting high elves, fighting high elves, fighting dark elves, fighting dark elves.
Yeah, and
a big mess.
What I would add to this is we'd also see back in Nagaroth, with the actual death of Malarian and Morathi's absence, Nagaroth falls into chaos. It's Hellebron and the Canaanites.
I was about to move on to exactly that point. Back in Nagaroth, it's worse because there's only one thing that really holds all of them together. And that's Malarian / Malekith. He is the binding glue of Dark Elf society. And it's largely how Morathi intended it to be, because she wants him to become the Phoenix King. He is the Phoenix King, and the loss of him is a loss of all of her dreams. Because he is meant to retake Ulthuan, bring back magic, and save the world. That can't happen now, at all. He's dead. Whether he's dead or not, he could just be in the aether playing the escape card. That doesn't matter. He's dead. Teclis could be doing the same thing. He might.
I would love the idea of them both doing that. They're sitting there going, "Oh, hello."
What the fuck? One of us is cheating. There's only one escape card in the deck, you fucker.
Yeah.
So we've got ourselves an entirely different elven world where the dark elves are at genuine war with each other, all wanting to become the next Witch King equivalent, the Dread King if you prefer, all of whom are not going to succeed because no one is going to fall behind one individual's banner there. It's going to be interscene warfare and conflict for probably 1,000 years. That's basically what they've got going for them. Someone will eventually rise, and Morathi is going to be hounded by everyone. One of the things that keeps her alive is her son, and her son, who she can wrap around her finger and every time go, "I'll go on, I'll be okay. Oh, he'll punish her some, and she'll have to debase herself before him. And then she will, and then she'll be standing up next day, whispering in his ear, going, let's do this instead. And everyone will be like, oh, nothing's changed. It's all the same, isn't it? Yep, it's just the same.
What are we going to do this week, Mother? Take over the world, son.
It's exactly that. And she's probably the brain in that one rather than Pinky. Yeah. I think so. She sees what is almost certainly her future, and that is her death at the hands of all of the various other cults that she's been manipulating for so long that they have reached the point that it's time to take their revenge. She has to get out. So she chooses to get out. Her own scrying, what she'll be doing up in Gron before it all goes wrong, shows her that there's one place in the world that is not just important to the fate of the world, but an integral component of it. If Middenheim stands, so does the world. Something that was unclear to her before because of the individuals who were still alive, all of whom could have done something else, which would have meant that Middenheim wouldn't have been as important. But they're dead now, which means it comes down to one thing. And where beforehand there was 1,000 potential futures, 1,000. She's Doctor Strange going through all the different potential routes in the future and coming out with only one. And there is only one potential future where she can survive, the world can survive, and that is through Middenheim. So she has to go there, and indeed does. So immediately, this changes a lot. Number one, the colleges of magic are almost certain not to be founded in Altdorf. When she intercepts or otherwise stops Peter Laszlo, she knows that Peter Laszlo came from Magnus, so we do at least have the potential of her going to Magnus. But she may prefer instead to go to Middenheim. And instead of helping Magnus become the next great power in the Empire, she may instead choose the Wolf Emperor, or the Wolf Emperor's son, or the Wolf Emperor's daughter. It doesn't really matter who it is. It's someone that she can manipulate most cleanly. She may prefer to do that, meaning that the cult of Ulrich may potentially become the cult of the Empire, depending upon what choices that we make. I think the obvious next step is for us to have some form of discussion about where she goes.
Yep.
Now, the obvious option is Middenheim, because that's what's so key. But there is nothing to say that she looks through the skeins of fate and says, no, Magnus is the key to the Empire. So I'm going to go to Magnus, which means she goes to Nuln instead first, not her target. The target is something she will get in time. Nuln matters first. So that would be the Magnus route if you chose that. If instead she wants to consolidate power, the only place she knows she has to take, then it has to be the Wolf Emperors up in Middenheim. Your last option for the three core choices for what's in the Empire at this point is the Ottilians, and they're over in Talabheim. And they are arguably the most defensible and strongest of the three powers. The only way that Magnus got them on side was with them capitulating. They basically looked at what Magnus offered and went, we agree.
Yeah.
That was important. The Middenheimers didn't agree. It took Magnus passing through the flame of Ulrich, which no one can survive unless you're a god, effectively. It took Magnus passing through that flame for them to go, yeah, fair enough, okay, you might be special. Because no one could do that except for Sigmar himself and Ulrich. Beyond that, you don't do it, and Magnus did it. So that gives you three, I think, pretty clear options. If you want something to say there, tell me something cool.
I have a admittedly heretical fourth option.
I love heretical fourth options.
Which is that, what if Morathi uses her magic to make herself appear human, and she takes Magnus's place?
I'd say that would be answered after we decide where she goes. Because she could do that for any of them.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, she could easily do that for any of them.
But just make herself emperor.
Okay, so I will add one fourth option then, since we can do this. And I'm not sure I like this option, but I think many people will like this option, so it seems unfair for me not to offer it. And that is, she goes, yeah, nah to all of that, and she instead goes to Sylvania.
I'm seeing a number of people being like, vampires!
Yeah, the Sylvanian families. She goes out and gets all the warm and fuzziest little bears and all the warm and fuzziest little chipmunks and little cats and dogs, and she makes her own Sylvanian family collection, all those cute little toys, and approaches the vampires instead. The vampires at this point are fucked. None of the major Palestinians are alive.
Hurting. They're hurting big time.
They're hurting to the point that they actually don't exist. So this option is a really weak one in terms of the story of Sylvania at the time, but it is the center of dark magic in the Empire. So if you're looking to consolidate dark magic, it might be a place that she naturally gravitates to. So if you like the idea of her consolidating her power in something that feels naturally to her strengths, you could argue that's Sylvania. It's the place where most dark magic gathers in the Empire. So we'd have then Sylvania.
It is the hard left turn option, admittedly.
So that would be Sylvania, and we'll see where that lands.
She goes to the moot. Fuck all this. I'm on vacation. Fuck you, all of you guys. I'm going to the moot. I'm
going to have a smoke, and it's going to be the best day of my life. Oh, freaking love this. Okay, so that would be Talabheim, Nuln, Middenheim, and Sylvania. Does that sound good?
Yes. I worded it after the emperors, but that's fine.
Sure.
They'll get it. They're smart. They'll figure it out.
What have you named each one, just out of curiosity?
So we got, come on, I wanted them all to sound a little cool. So we have elevate the Wolf Emperor, support Magnus of Nuln, reinforce the Attilan Emperor, or actually, it's probably the Empress.
The three vampires left in Sylvania.
Yeah. Well, according to 8th edition, Manfred's kicking around somewhere in there, just being very quiet. He's being very quiet.
Or elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He might be afield at the moment.
Yeah.
But,
totally.
Yeah, we all know GW's policy. There's always as many vampires as there needs to be.
There's exactly as many as there needs to be.
Yeah. Getting gleeful. Future what if idea. What if Nagash was killed by the Alliance of the Seven Kings? Or what if Alcatazar captured him during Nagash's invasion? Okay, so this I kind of am this one because if you want to get super technical, Nagash was killed by the Alliance of the Seven Kings.
Yeah, 100%.
Like he dies, he genuinely does. So like it wouldn't really change all that much. If I think what you're actually asking is what if Nehekara had actually won the war against Nagash, which could be fun at some point.
I think there is a definite what if there. What if Nehekara remained a power in the world?
Yeah, what if Nehekara had survived? I will add it to the list. I'll tell you that. While this vote is going real quick, I do want to just take a moment to thank you all for taking the time to come hang out with us and do all this stuff. Here's my list.
That was lovely.
I did. What if Nehekara had survived?
And I, of course, will do the inevitable spam of a quick link to my poor dead dad's fundy thing.
Yeah, if you want to support the laws, especially Andy's dear sweet mother, now is a great time to do it.
Poor blind mom.
Can you comment? You just did. Congratulations.
Well done. As Gaston says, you just did.
Yeah, hold on. Well, I know y'all are allowed to vote for any reason on whatever subject you want, but votes vampires purely because you want your Yuri scene from Morathi and Neferata. That is such a Hail Mary pass to try and get where you're going.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm now changing my vote.
Oh, no one told me Yuri was on offer.
At the moment, again, just about half of you voted and elevates the Wolf Emperor for Middenheim, i.e. going straight for the Middenheim option is first, heading over towards Magnus is second. If you think that sounds like bullshit, jump in and change it. There is a good bit of time to go before the vote is over.
Thoughts on Wood Elf Centaurs and could they exist in fantasy as blessings from, well, it'd be Kurnoth instead of Kurnoth. Yeah. You could have the Wood Elves were changed more dramatically by their bonding with that Lore. That would be one of the easiest, like, bet. There we go. I finished. Can we vote for vampires the second time? Nah, you gotta convince the YouTubers. You have to either go over there and vote or convince them to vote. There's like 120 people that haven't voted. So if those 120 people vote, whether you're on mobile or on your PC or whatever, y'all could completely swing it. Y'all could completely swing it. I was told the Neferati ship was an option. If you vote vampires, we might be able to force it to work.
100% an option. I mean, any ship with Morathi is an option.
That's true. How much to change the vote via super chat? I don't think we're allowed to do that on these. I think I might get in trouble if I do that.
Get in trouble from me.
No, okay. What I could say is that if someone came in with a $100 super chat to force the Neferati ship, we could work that ship into any of these choices. That is doable for a $100 super chat. I could do that. I can make that work.
You're such an easy lay, Sotek, and so is Morathi.
I'm proud of it. So listen. No one asks how the lights are kept on at Lorebeards. All that matters is that they are.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We do need to keep the lights on.
But YouTube is blocking super chats. Okay, you're the third person to say that, so I'm gonna go check that.
Interesting. It doesn't seem to be on this side, and I've got all the bits for you. Super chat doing its thing over here.
I'll go check it. But if you haven't refreshed your page,
refresh the page. That should hopefully sort it.
But because YouTube's, I have seen in a couple of little places YouTube's being a little finicky.
Is it being a bit weird today? Is it? No, yeah, apparently being weird today. Go figure. Well, it is.
So
we don't need to keep the lights on. We can just,
YouTube's just anti. They're just anti Yuri. That's just YouTube as a. Clearly, it's a company policy. Right. Morathi goes for Malarian 2 with I don't think she would try and replace her immortal elven demigod son with a human a half human hybrid. Oh, a lot of people can't. Oh
yeah. So apparently it's sort of working. It's just
it took a second attempt. You might have to try multiple times. So yeah, sorry dudes. Do the best you can. There's unfortunately not a lot we can do from our end.
Nothing. If YouTube's being a dick, then YouTube's being a dick. Sadly, we are at the whims of our digital masters.
Yeah, our hands are tied on this one. I'm very sorry to see that, but maybe try switching to mobile. Like switch to your phone if you're not on your phone. But it's not on our end, it's on YouTube's end. So there's nothing we can do about it. Y'all will just either have to keep trying or maybe switch to a different thing. But some of them are still going through, apparently. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the vote. I think it's been enough time. It's working now. Well, I hope so. And we have Morathi is going straight to Middenheim.
Sweet. Okay, so this is a fun one. Right, so Morathi, being direct, has chosen that the so I'm just double checking about it. Yep, there we go. Mine worked. Just so you know.
Also, Jabad, thank you for the super sticker. I always forget super stickers are a function.
That's me.
Who's that clown?
Yeah,
Who is that clown?
I am that clown. Wait a minute. Right, anyway, we have gone for what
y'all got plenty of time if you want that $100 Yuri option. You got all the time in the world.
True fact. So we have gone for the relatively direct option, which is Morathi has looked at the skeins of fate and seen the importance, the absolute essential importance. Oh, you got something you want to say there?
I think someone mentioned that it could be that YouTube certain words can get banned, and if you try and include a banned term in a super chat, it will stop it.
Oh, okay, could be that.
So I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check to make sure that's not what it is.
Well, while you're doing that, yeah, you can influence.
About.
Yeah, because screw that. We don't have any banned words in our world because I'm Scottish and I'll say anything. So yes, we're going for the direct route. She has looked at the Skeins of Fate and she has seen that the importance of Middenheim is at the center of everything. Now, why might that be the case? We know the answer to this, and it's bluntly the Flame of Ulrich. Now, if you go, the Flame of Ulrich, that sounds a little bit like the Flame of Azurin. Doesn't it? The answer is yes, it does. Because they are effectively very, very similar, except one is red and hot, and the other one is sort of white and cold. One is the Flame of Azurin, the great reincarnating judge of all the gods, and the other one is the Argent Silver Flame of Ulrich, which is the god of war, winter, and wolves in the Empire. And they are very similar, each presumably fueled by a great font of magic. One of them being the font of, well, it was going to be Gur. That's the cold, cold wind, the amber wind that's underneath Middenheim. We know that's the case because, well, I wrote it into place. And then over on the other side, we know that we have actually burning deep within the fires underneath the pyramid of Azurin. So if this is something that she understands, and you might go, but one's a pyramid and the other one's just a gigantic triangular rock with a city on top. They're very similar places is what I'm saying. So this is something that she understands, and she's going straight for the core. And she understands that this flame is essential for crowning the next empress. Well, what happened with Sigmar? The only way he became emperor was to go through that flame. This is beginning to sound really familiar, isn't it? With the Phoenix Kings. How did Magnus become emperor? He went through the flame and he came out the other side. Okay, so we have a story here, a clear story that she is going to fundamentally understand, which is the next leader of humanity will need to pass through the flame, just like her son sort of did before. And I'm going to leave that on a sort of did. Let's not discuss that one too long. So we've got ourselves a clear use for this flame, the importance of the flame, the fact it's tied to a god. She has to be there. But the question is, how is she going to ingratiate herself with the locals? Or indeed, anyone else that she wished to attempt to influence? Is she going to do what Sotek suggested earlier? Is she going to take the Ryan route, which is to say, I am going to replace the Wolf Emperor and become him. I am going to be the next, let's say, leader of the Wolf Emperors up in the north. That doesn't sound like classic Morathi view.
Yeah, normally she's much more of the advisor type.
The vizier type.
Yeah, the
but
vizier.
She could equally replace someone else in the court and advise someone to do that sort of thing if you wish. But loosely, the first option, I think, would be she replaces someone to take her place in court. The next one is that she replaces not a human, but an elf. Now, the elves of Middenheim have long-standing relationships with the elves of the Lorelorn Forest, the Aenir. Now, the Aenir elves and Morathi get on. That might surprise you. Wait, what? Dark elves? Get on with any other elves? Yeah, they do actually. The Lorelorn elves sit in the middle between the high elves and the dark elves, which they think have gone to an extreme on both sides. And Morathi's leaving them all. The next route would be she works with the elves. So route number one is she replaces a human. Route number two is she works with the elves to control Middenheim and the center. And that would be the greatest seer of the elves arrives in the Lorelorn and effectively advises them to then take control of Middenheim. So that'd be the elf route. So she abandons the other elves to take up with the Aenir. A third option on top of that would be that she comes as Morathi herself. She's not hiding behind a veil or a cloth. She's not pretending to be anything other than she is. She's doing what she does back in, for example, Nagaroth, where when she goes north and she speaks to the tribesmen and allies with them, takes them on side, she doesn't do that as some other entity. She might wear a different name or a different thing, but she is always Morathi. She is always this great, almost goddess-like entity. She brings that energy to Middenheim. And she says it's time for us to do better. And she effectively becomes the wife of whomever it is that's going to be empowered inside Middenheim. She becomes a partner, a consort. It's how she loosely controls almost everyone that she's with. It's the classic Morathi route. If you want to go classic Morathi, this is the option. She could, of course, classic Morathi the elves if you wish, or hide to be someone else if you wish as well. But loosely, this is the classic Morathi option. You have a fourth one before I just make up some other random bullshit?
No. That's actually kind of an interesting one. She disguises herself as a god.
That's interesting. She could. She absolutely could, and she's pretty close in the greater scheme of power levels. She's capable of doing that. There is one potential issue with that, and that's that she's going to be surrounded by people who are in contact with gods. Unlike the elves, who have almost got their gods who have fucked off to another place and very rarely talk to them through dreams or through some other options, humans are talking to their gods again and again and again and again, bringing up miracles, doing all sorts of silly shit, which means it's difficult to directly impose yourself as a goddess and take control. It's easy to do it and to get a cult, and possibly even a big cult, but not one that's as big as the existing cults. And if she's looking to take control, she would be better ingratiating herself with, say, for example, Ulrich in Middenheim. So possibly what you're suggesting is the last one, but we just twitch it slightly and we say instead that she takes a different classic Morathi route, and that is she moves in and takes control of the cults in a variety of ways. She, for example, gets the cult of Ulrich on side by breaking their vow of celibacy, taking that away and allowing the cult of Ulrich to rise in a way that it had been stymied from doing before. That would be one example of some of the things that she could do as she changes things. She basically manipulates the cults in the same way that she did with the elves when she formed all of those. So what do we think to those as 4 options?
Yes. What was the third option? We got our ship. We did it. Okay, we're going to get to Neferata at some point after the Great War. We're Neferata.
Yeah, delicious. We'll get to that then.
Delicious. Thank you, Rivan. Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. So we have found a bullshit way around YouTube's current problem. If you leave a wordless super chat or use a super sticker, then just do like at Lorebeards in a normal comment to just be like, this is what I wanted to say. Then
just weird.
It's just YouTube having stupid problems. What can you do? What was the third option? So I've got disguises or replaces a human. So disguises herself as a human, wiggles her way to the court, works with the elves to control Middenheim, take control of the cults, and what?
So the I've lost track there. So the first, what was your first one?
First one is replaces a human. So like she takes.
The first one is she takes on someone else's form. The second one is she works with the Lorelorn elves. The third one is that she comes as herself. And comes directly as herself and does what she does with, say, for example, the Chaos Tribes. She does what she does normally. This is our classic route, option 3. Or option number 4 is she goes for the cults instead.
Got it.
Okay, so sorting the super chats is just going to be a bit of a pain in the ass because we're going to have to actually go through them.
Yeah, make sure that if you do a super chat and then you want us to comment and you want us to, and you're like, for this thing, make sure you add us. Try to at least. Ship in for the ship Neferata or Elspeth. Well, Elspeth won't be born for a bit, but she makes an alliance with the fishermen also. You're adding a lot of conditions. But who knows? Maybe the fishermen will show up. If anyone could inveigle them, it would be Morathi, though. Ravon, thank you for I saw your follow-up comment of the Morathi X Neferata ship shall not be denied. As Malekith's #1 fan, I would humbly request his triumphant return. We could have him
given Ravon you did the big super chat. Yeah, I think we can make that happen.
Yeah, we can. Though it might be different. It'll be different than how he initially did.
That's great.
Stephen Lucas, thank you for the 99 cents. By the way, the poll's up. So if you haven't, go vote on YouTube right now. Go vote. Konstantin Sternkopf, apologies. Thank you very much. Let's see. Stephen Lucas, thank you for the $5. Appreciate it very much. Gideon, thank you for the $2. Just keeping an eye out for various comments. Spencer, I have a potential idea for Bellacore, but we have to go a little further in the story. Also, don't be super shocked, guys, if this one ends up potentially going to a part 2, especially with YouTube being fucky. But we will do what we can. So something that especially that would lean into takes control of the cults. There are Cainite cults in the Empire. And interestingly, Morathi would probably seek to not only take control of them, but she's probably going to change them quite a bit.
I'm trying to say, can you? I'm looking at the. I can't see how to access the comments that are underneath the comments over in YouTube, but are over here in StreamYard.
The comments.
For example,
I see. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Can you access those?
I could see them.
I'm not seeing them on this side.
Like that was Stephen Lucas's reply to that one.
Got you. You're right. YouTube is well borked.
Yeah, YouTube is kind of.
Yeah, it's they're sort of coming in now. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So okay, here's what I'm gonna say, my dudes. Here's what I'm gonna say. This is kind of an executive decision. If YouTube does not chill the fuck out in like the next 21-ish minutes, we might call this stream early
and then do this part 2. Yeah, I think that might be a good idea. Because if we're not communicating well with each other, that kind of ruins the fun of it.
Kind of ruins what we like to do.
Because I love these streams so much, the what ifs, and if we're not really talking to each other very well, it just makes this less fun. But anyway, how's the vote going so far? Let's have a quick check. At the moment, just over half of you have voted. Oh, and it's super tight between arrives as Morathi herself, Morathi the Great, or takes control of the cults. Two very classic ways for Morathi to engage with others. And they are currently 50-50 in terms of the vote, both at 37% of the vote. So it could go either way. If you think one of those is a better option, please dive in, vote now, make your opinion known, because it is super close.
Yeah, Dynaman, thank you for the, where is it? Thank you. If she takes control of the quotes, this is from his super chat, she could present herself as some sort of grand prophetess of Ulrich, especially given her seeress ability. Yeah, she would actually be very, 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 she would be in an excellent position to manipulate the cults.
Yeah, absolutely excellent. She's this is what she does if we choose the religious route. She is exceedingly good at not just manipulating the cults, but here we go. I'm going to go somewhere that some of you might go, yeah, really? And I'm going there. You ready? But at manipulating the gods themselves.
Yeah, that's for true. And because if we get a tie, interesting things can happen if we get a tie.
Agreed. If we had a tie at the end of it, then so be it. We're going to have a tie. The gods are real in Warhammer. This is something that people forget. Sometimes people like going, oh, the gods, they don't really exist. You can't do anything to those. No, the gods are real. The gods, in some cases, even fall in love. Half of the Morathi stories are a god fell in love with her, and oh, well, strange things occurred. Or someone thought that the goddess was getting to this, or the god was doing to this. She's used to manipulating gods. And Ulrich walks the world. So we could have an interesting one there.
Yeah, Magler Dog, why do I have a feeling this will end up with the setting again and Nagash escaping to the next timeline using the Gashasar as a rocket ship and Archon clinging to the fortress for poor little Archon. We're currently testing what words it holds. Actually, one of the interesting things is with Morathi in the Empire, there is a building theme which likely we'll have to cover because I'm almost certain we're going to be dealing with part 2.
I think so too. Just looking at the way the chat's coming in.
Yeah, there is a very interesting potential showdown between Morathi learning a good bit, being close enough to really delve into what's going on down in Sylvania and eventually going down there and dealing with the vampires, because they basically use a debased, weird form of the magic that she invented.
Yeah.
Which I think tying her into Neferata, which is something we're going to do, works really well for this, and is going to lead to a very.
I can see her going, "We nuked them."
Yeah,
and potentially nuking them and working with Neferata to do so.
Yeah, there's going to be a hugely interesting thing between the more Nagash-leaning vampires and those that seek a truth that Morathi the Great brings. All right, I'm going to give y'all just a little bit longer on the vote. There's a very high chance this might be the last vote of the stream.
So if it is the last vote, we'll give ourselves a really good summary so we've got a very strong place to move on from there.
Seems the blue chats work. Yeah, I feel bad for someone that's like, I want to do a certain thing, and then they're gonna have to like pick like a list of blues
500 blue chats
to get all of the like text that they want in. Good God.
Yeah, the blue charts are super short.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give y'all about another 30 seconds to vote on that. Once again, I do want to apologize for the YouTube stuff. I have literally looked at everything we have, and there is nothing we could do on our end. I have quadruple checked.
I'd suggest calling it there. We've not had a change in vote for a little bit, and it's a particularly fun one because it is. It's breaking up now. Okay, so just because one person voted is now shifted. 2 people voted, 3 people voted. It's going up and down. So votes are still coming in at the moment. Arises Morathi the Great 19, is literally a vote ahead.
17,
if you wanted to take control of the cults
16,
and I don't know, seduce Ulrich, 15, then it's 50-50 again. 13, Morathi the Great's 50-50 again.
11.
Just call it. All right,
fine. I hit the button.
Oh, which one's gone? Oh, it's the 50-50.
It's the time.
All right, so this one is a super fun one to tie. I can see somebody sitting there whenever one goes up going, I'll move my vote. I'm going to make it equal. So what we have here is Morathi being Morathi and coming as Morathi to Middenheim, and also openly as Morathi working with the cults as her primary route to power. Now, the primary cult inside the city that she is in is the cult of Ulrich. And the cult of Ulrich is a unique cult in the Empire, in that it's the only one of the major cults that has a god that's unlike every other god that pretty much exists in the Empire. Well, that's not true. There's a whole bunch of them that exist in a somewhat similar arena, but it's unlike any of the major cults. Yeah. And that is, Ulrich is real. And by that I mean, he's in the material plane.
Yeah, he's banging people all the time.
And he's having kids, and those kids are waking up with strange werewolf powers at random times in their lives. Ulrich is a very real entity. If you've watched Lawhammer, he's been in it 3 times so far. I'm not even joking. Find Ulrich if you can. He's been in it 3 times so far.
Might be Ulrich, one of the like 80 characters named Ulrich. He might have been completely honest about who he is.
I think there's more than 80. So Ulrich is real, which means that we could have an interesting plotline there, which would be Morathi comes as Morathi and decides to become consort of Ulrich. That would be a pretty immense route. There are other ways, though.
So cool. Yeah. Sorry, keep on.
There are other routes that you could choose, though. There are routes such as she instead inveigles her way through the cults and manipulates each of them in different ways. So rather than taking the divine route, she takes her more classic one, which is she understands the gods and she understands the cults, and she gets them all working towards her preferred outcome, which is what she normally does. And if you prefer a slightly more grounded Morathi who is going to manipulate and use the local populace, this is the route you take. And if you want this one, I'd add an extra detail on just in case the chats are working at all. And that is to say, if we do this, then we're moving Middenheim into a theocracy where we end up with the cult of Ulrich effectively taking control. This is what the Grand Dukes and the Wolf Emperors fought against desperately. At the moment, at this point in time, the cult of Ulrich has got a big ban on it for sex. No priest of Ulrich is allowed to fuck anything because they're afraid of creating rival dynasties. Now, they get around this by generally becoming Knights of the White Wolf, not priests, having kids, and then becoming priests afterwards. So it doesn't really stop it, but it stops the great leaders, like, for example, R. Ulrich, who is the leader of the cult, from ever reaching the point where he has a dynasty that rivals the Grand Dukes. What we're saying is, if we go with the she manipulates the cults option, instead of her banging Ulrich, she instead organizes it so all the Ulrichans can bang, and all the Ulrichans are in a position where they can have children, they can marry, and they marry into the royal families instead, and they become a theocracy. So she takes control of Middenheim by getting rid of all the problems that they have that were created by politics over 1,000 years earlier. The cult of Ulrich is the route to power in Middenheim, and we're looking for the route to it. So we're going to choose two Middenheim options there. One is the god option. The other one is the cult option, because the god might not get on with the cult. You see how that one lands. So you got god, we got cult. Can we go for an obvious third option? Whether we're actually going to do this vote or not, we're about to find out. An obvious third option would be, so we're looking at... what's our... I want to look at the last vote again just to make sure. We've got Morathi being Morathi, and she's going to work with the cults. So I think the next option would be almost certainly the conflict option, where she would be looking to eradicate the alternative options. So the third option would be, rather than consolidate Ulrich or take control of Ulrich, she instead consolidates the cults in the north to the detriment of another, which means that she wipes out and aims to destroy the primary alternative, which would be the cults of Ulrich and Tal.
Yeah, we could be that she tries to ascend the cult of Cain, because Cain exists.
Oh, yeah, I like that. That's a good one. A third option would be move Cain in. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Okay. Ascends Cain to dominance. That's three good options.
Yeah.
Also, I apologize to Andy. Made such a beautiful explanation of the first option about how Morathi would be freeing the cults from a lot of their political entanglements, and how that would garner her a lot of favor among the cults and all this other stuff. But I had to work with a very limited amount of words to explain the idea, so I just went with that.
Morathi lets the cults bang. Yes! 2, Morathi becomes consort of Ulrich. More banging! Or ascends Cain to dominance. No banging.
You know, listen, we work with what we can. We work with what we've got. Argus the Pillager, chat test, VPN disconnected. Well, that worked for that. Super Orlock, do you work Dark Elves? Dark Elves do work in this case. Thank you, Orlock. Turnpike, imagine the confusion when Imperials find out the Druki swordsmen aren't Chaos Warriors. To be fair, they only look like Chaos Warriors from like a really far distance. If you get even remotely close, they don't look even at all the same. All right, chat, get your votes in. I think I could say with confidence, just based on continuing DMs I'm getting and messages, that this is probably going to be the last vote for today.
Yeah, let's make this the last vote so we've got a nice clean place. I'm enjoying the stream immensely. I don't want to stop it, but I think that'd probably be a good idea. But I'm super keen to see what this vote's going to land on. Let's see where we currently are. At the moment, it's really strong for the consort of Ulrich, with Let's the Cults Bang coming in second. So if you'd like cults to bang, and that wouldn't just be the cult of Ulrich, that would also be, say, the cult of Shalia, and also potentially the cult of Sigmar, who also has a host of non-banging rules in place for certain orders. This would be very much a breaking it down and building a theocracy.
It would really be her helping guide the cults to dominance over the political structure of the empire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's theocracies all over the place in the real world. This would be building the Wolf Emperors towards a point of theocracy, which isn't going to be the case if she becomes consort of Ulrich. Instead, that's going to be more of a divine companionship while humanity continues on doing its thing. It will be a separation from humanity rather than working with humanity. So that's when the next option will be, let's found our colleges and what they are going to be in this particular realm. But at the moment, if you do go with consort of Ulrich, be aware that massively stymies her. Massively. Because Ulrich is a strong presence, which means that she's going to have to convince him now. If you go with the other option, let the cults bang, she's going to have much more freedom to do whatever she wants. If she's wrapped up with Ulrich, then Ulrich's preferences are going to become core to a lot of the decision-making that she has to make, because Ulrich, after all, has got his own views as to what should and should not be done. And she's going to have to constantly persuade him in the direction that she wants, which is ultimately, I get to do everything I want. Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah, 100 people still haven't voted yet. So if either of those arguments have convinced you, you can get it in. What if we tie the votes again? Then we will do what we can.
Wow. If you make the vote, I mean, if you can do it, I'll be freaking impressed.
Yeah, if y'all pull that off twice in a row, we might have to give you a cookie of some kind.
I mean, I will be damned impressed if you pull it off twice in a row.
How to change the vote? Unfortunately, with YouTube system, you can't change your vote. Once you voted,
you're just going to have to persuade others. So if you want to try and bring out a draw, at least I think that's the case. I don't think you can change your vote. No, if you want this to become a draw, you are going to have to vote like hard and make the cults bang.
I don't think you can change your vote on YouTube. I'm pretty sure.
Let me do a vote. I think I may have just reported the poll by mistake. I report that promotes terrorism. Yeah, that's what I report.
Oh boy, and so Lorebeards unceremoniously was destroyed by one of its own hosts.
Hey, you know, let the cults bang is almost at 40%. Consort of Ulrich is currently at 45%. If you work hard, you might be able to get this close to a draw.
Yeah,
you know,
I'll let this one kind of hang out until we get pretty close to the hour. Ricky Chapman, does anyone else want to see a giant scorpion avatar of Cain versus a giant wolf avatar of Ulrich? I don't really think there'd be a point where that would happen in this, but it would be a cool fight. I would love to see it.
Does anyone want to see it? Fucking hell, yeah.
He was the male sorcerer that would destroy the world.
Looks like the letting the cults bang won't catch up for those of you who are looking for draw. It will take probably a good 15 extra votes, I think, for that to go off, given the number of votes that are currently on.
I will give y'all 2 more minutes.
You got 2 more minutes if you want to try and bring that round. At the moment, only about half of you have voted, so there's more than enough of you out there to change this vote if you wish to do so.
Yeah, or make our lives hard and go for another tie. Why not? When in Rome. Yeah, and I do, once again, I do apologize again for all of the YouTube issues today. I wish there was something we could do about it. Unfortunately, it is not in our hands. Also, I don't know if I caught this one earlier, but Scar, Prince of the Parade, first time catching one of these live. Normally, it's not this fucked up. Normally, things are running super smooth. Love the Hell Pit video. Thank you very much. Jonathan King, first in, we can vote to see how the Dark Elves end up leader-wise. My vote is for Hellebron or Council of 13 deal. Well, that would just be the Black Council. Like, settles. But we do have, as part of the $100 super chat, that Malekith does end up returning.
Yes, he will.
And his initial impulse would be to go back to Nagaroth. He'll pop out in the same place. So we'll see what happens. Okay, it's 40-45 now, but you guys have 1 more minute, so get your votes in. Get them in.
I mean, it's got closer, but let the cults bang as in, i.e., make it a theocracy. Oh, my YouTube's crashed again. Yeah, YouTube's borked.
Yeah, it's struggling today. And
it
that
really
is time.
Well, it seems to be a pretty obvious one. We are going to, in our next stream, be building a world for our new Colleges of Magic that is founded in Middenheim. And in Middenheim,
who could say?
Middenheim, Morathi and Ulrich are Chicken wow, gonna get it on. Morathi is going to seek out the divine heart of Middenheim and seek to control that city from, you could argue, the very top. But that's not the only thing that we're going to be planning for the new colleges of magic that we're going to be forming for the Empire. We're going to be forming an empire where Morathi allows this new nascent version of the Empire to go to war with chaos, with presumably a god on side, and presumably their colleges of magic from Middenheim and no Magnus. So we're going to have to figure out what happens with the other components of the Empire at this point. We're also going to have a world in which Malekith will be returning, which is going to put him potentially at odds with Morathi or not. Because after all, what's another 10, 20, 30 years on your side project when Morathi often vanishes from his life for who knows how long? It depends on when we decide he returns. But there's also one other aspect to the story that we've yet to cover, and that's that Morathi will be teaming up with a certain Silver Peak vampire from down in the south, Yuri style. And it's going to be an interesting, let's say, bonding, where the pair of those are almost certainly going to have a shared enemy to make this worthwhile. And also points of context that allow them to want to ally. There's lots of things that they could arguably want to fight against.
And I will know. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
In true Lorebeard style, for the options y'all did not vote for, there will be consequences in the sense that Morathi does not successfully slow down or stop the prophecy of Archaon. So Correct. There is a 200-year timer.
And it also means that the cults will rise against her because she didn't take control of them. You chose for her not to have dominance over the cults, which means she won't, meaning that the cults will almost certainly rise against her. She's not going to have control there in the way that she potentially could have. So we've got a really cool story that's potentially building. But we're not going to do that right now because YouTube is a dick.
Yeah, YouTube's shitting its own brains out, apparently. So, which, we've all been there. Sometimes. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
So, this is not the end of this story. It is merely a pause. So, lucky for y'all, it turns into basically a 5-hour stream instead of a 2-hour, 3-hour stream. Oh, shit.
But you know what? I'm okay with that because I love Morathi and I think this entire stream has got some good place to go. So, what this stream is in truth was, why did Morathi found the colleges of magic? Now we know the why. And the next stream is going to be exactly what happens. What if she does? And we're about to find out what if, because she's about to find them in Middenheim.
Yep. With that, I am actually, instead of just ending the stream like we normally do, Vera is streaming, so I'm going to send y'all over to go hang out with her. Really, that's weird. Okay. Okay, fun. Any event, so thank you all. I just realized something silly. Hope you all have a lovely day. Vespa, I'm not in a hurry. What was your super chat? Because
where is it? Because I looked, I can't find it.
It did not show up for us.
Yeah, I had a good look too. And I meant to
question.
Throw it, Vespa. We're still here. We haven't gone anywhere. Do it.
Yeah, just type out what it was. Just literally just type it out again. As a question.
Yeah, I've looked right back to the beginning of the fuck all there. YouTube's bored today. Here we go.
Elves are elves. Turn the ship north. Loyalty is its own. Right. No, I remember that. So basically, would Laszlo have been like, fuck it, we're just gonna go over to
up north instead.
Up north. And I would say realistically the answer would be no, in my opinion, because I don't think the Empire would really have any good knowledge about where Naggaroth even is, much less how to safely navigate to there or how to successfully make their way to Karankar without just ending up as slaves. YouTube is the fifth Chaos God. It's true. It is very, very true. It controls our fate more than we would like, and it is a cruel, duplicitous entity that requires endless amounts of bloodshed and worship to just perform basic functions. But with that,
I'm looking forward to the next stream anyway. That's gonna be super fun.
Thank you all. Please give Vera our love and tell her we appreciate her deeply. She did a fun little stream yesterday with Ross. And you'll be seeing her on more Mondays in the future. Do be in mind
fact, if you're role playing, do pop over and check the Lorebeards and role playing stream that they did, because it was super fun about doing your session 0. And I even dropped by and dropped them a quick £20 super chat because it was so awesome. I had to. It was a good stream. Go watch it.
Yeah, there were actually some very funny anecdotes in there. My favorite was Ross's dad literally sitting down and like the first thing of being an idea of what character he could play was to be a drug dealer, which is just great. So quick notes, just last few things for scheduling wise. Tomorrow there will be 40k Lorebeards. The subject matter is, let me look it up.
Do you know? Because I don't.
I know where to find it. It is a tier list. Okay, so it's a follow-up to their last stream. It's a tier list of abhumans. So they're gonna they're gonna do an abhuman tier list stream. So that should be fun. And then on Friday, Andy is back with Lawhammer, I believe. Correct? Yes, he is. Okay, good. So Lawhammer
100%. I can't express how much I'm looking forward to it. And if you haven't been keeping up, we are literally at the Hammer of Sigmar.
Hawk, they didn't tell you that. Hawk, I would recommend you go ping Ross right now so we can figure out what the fuck's going on with that. T-Bone, describe this real quick. Sotek, ever since the Monster Smasher Pass stream, I've been plagued by a question. I don't know if I like that. Can a life wizard make a dragon ogre fertile? Ooh, that's actually a very good question.
So the answer to this is probably no.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah. It would probably require more than a mere wizard. It would require divine intervention because you're trying to undo the power of the chaos gods, which is hefty.
It requires something pretty impressive.
Yeah. But that's a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I like that.
And then on Saturday, also we will be having a stream. There will be a stream. I'm not going to read out what it is because now that I'm looking at it, they need to reword the title of that. So I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I will, because that's a little confusing of a topic. And then on Sunday, me and Andy, for the first time ever, will be going to Age of Sigmar to talk about what else but more Morathi.
Is it Morathi?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about her AOS storyline and how it complements, works with, or goes against the character that was designed for Warhammer Fantasy. It's finally happening. So it should be a good time. We're going to talk about her ascent to godhood and all of the other fun toys, bells, and whistles that comes with that. More.
I really like that comment.
More Athy.
Yep, love that.
So yeah.
Enough, Athy.
And then next Tuesday we'll be back here doing this, but we'll be continuing it. So it should be a really good time. Thank you all again so much for joining us. We will see you again soon. Please give our love to Vera and all that jazz. What time? 10 a.m. CST, 4 p.m. BST on Sunday, and then exact same time as today for next Tuesday.
Yep.
So we'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.